Hello there. I am Kios, the Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to a Ronin review, Blue Eye Samurai, episodes 7 and 8. And before we get into it, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Ooh, excuse me. So, I have to say, before we get into everything, this was a great season finale. 7 and 8 went well together. This show, it left on a somewhat positive note. We did have an important death, well, a couple. We definitely got some closure on some things and revelations. So I would say that they wrapped up this season well, and allowed there to be, now that we know that, there's going to be a season two, it's going to be really fascinating to see how season two plays out, seeing as we're going to be in a completely different environment. So without further ado, let us get into the spoilers. Um, I think, I just want to get into the spoilers, to be honest. Get right into it. This was good. It was a solid episode. Both of them were solid episodes. Kept a great momentum and some really good twists. I was really happy with it. So here we are for the spoilers. So, in episode 7, Akemi, she finally kind of comes to her own. She meets the old mistress as she's kind of, adjusting to being married to the shogun's son. And, I liked how the mistress pretty much told her to, F and get your life together and take what you F and want. It was really good to see Akeme kind of finally um, take some initiative. And, we get to see Mizu is finally deciding to kind of become that samurai that Ringo has always seen in her. So we have the pursuing of that. What I really enjoyed mostly was just Akeme. It was really a good, 7 was a good focus on Akeme, and I really enjoyed how she, essentially kind of called out her husband, but then realized that, he has a stutter, so he doesn't talk because of his stutter. So she's able to, use her seductive tactics that she, I would say, mastered when she was working at the whorehouse, and she used it on her husband, and it worked really well. He was able to kind of finally not stutter as much, so she was able to essentially take control over her husband from his mom, because his mom was the one that was being the, emotional and psychological abusive person towards Akemi. So it was good to see her finally take control of the situation. We also got, with Fowler and him essentially killing the Shogun's advisors and giving Ashido, I can't remember. I think his name is Ashido, giving him control over the army essentially, because he was trying to outmaneuver Fowler, but Fowler played him nonetheless. It was cool to see Fowler put his gun together using the various pieces of the piano and the knights from the chess game. It was really cool to see that. So we know that it's happening. They're coming for the shogun. In episode 7, we get a lot of that. And what I really liked about, like I said, the focus on Akeme and her, near the end, essentially hiring buying out the contracts and hiring the horrors of the head mistress to be her advisors and maids and what have you, which was really cool to see that. And then one of the horrors kind of having this moment of guilt and being like, what, I was so cruel to you and mean to you. I have to tell you what's going on. And in episode 7, Fowler and Ishido, they go on their little pleasure tour to the Shogun, and there's literally a scene where one of the whores that Akeme buys out the contract, she's literally wearing this mask with a giant nose on it, and she's literally got that nose up Fowler's up his butt while he's talking about his plan to take over Japan. It was the most craziest, ridiculous scene. I mean, they literally had a woman having sex with an octopus. It was wild. All right, episode 7 was wild. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I love the way this show does this wildness. And so, episode 7, it kind of wraps up with, that whore telling Akeme about the plot. Akeme goes to her father, they tell of the plot, and then her father throws the whore over his balcony. And you realize that he's the one that's going to be replacing the shogunate. So it's really, episode 7 was really quite a wild ride. A lot of things that I was not expecting to happen happened. So I would really say that episode 7 definitely wrapped up on a real good note. And, Akeme ends up getting imprisoned by her father. So, yeah, I really liked episode 7. It got me excited for episode 8. And episode 8 picked up right where we left off. Mizu is making her way through what was it, the Shogun's castle. I'm trying to remember the name of the city. I apologize, I cannot remember the name at the moment, but I enjoyed also that Taigen, he's been working undercover, and we see that Ringo runs into Taigen while Mizu is searching for Akeme, and then Seki, I think his name is Seki, her father's advisor, he frees her because he realized the plot and what was going on. Because right around that time, the plot starts moving, people start getting killed, the guards, everything. But Taigen and Ringo try to make their way to the Shogun. They make their way. They tell the Shogun the situation, and they eventually see Fowler and his army marching down towards the capital. And then, what happened next? Oh, yeah. So, throughout episode 8 and leading into the attack on the capital, you essentially get to see modern technology defeat ancient warfare. So you have moments with the muskets and the arrows, and it's just like arrows are not faster than muskets, and you're watching as this capital is slowly taken over with very little blood. I was surprised that the Shogun didn't have an army or anything at all. It was really interesting. And you then see Ishido He kills the emperor's the shogun's captain of the guard. They essentially just are just marching their way in. Fowler is just on the front, just looking all badass. I really loved it. And then we get to the part where Fowler, finds the shogun and the lords, and he essentially kills a couple lords with a musket, and then he just kills the shogun with a musket as well. Even though the shogun was like, "Let us duel this out," and he was like, "Nah, I'm good. I want them to see your humiliation." So he shoots him, and right when who's right when I think he was about to kill the shogun's sons, Mizu comes out of nowhere and stops him. And then the fight turns into Mizu versus Fowler. The shogun's sons are able to get their families out, while Akeme and Saizu, or I forgot his name. They're trying to escape as well. The fight between Fowler and Mizu was great, and I did appreciate that Taigen kept on helping, even though he got his ass whooped. Um, it just like wasn't his battle, and Taigen kind of Mizu tells Taigen, "This is not your fight. Go find Akeme. Go be with her." And I loved how when the Shogun's sons they make it towards the gate, the place starts catching on fire because Mizu, while fighting Fowler, just torches the castle. And I love the scene where the shogun, the new shogun, he's getting ready to, he's waiting for the lords to come, and his mom's like, "No, you have to lock the gate. They saw your father's shame, and that could prevent him from being able to maintain power." So they had to kill the lords. So I liked how they trapped them in with the fire and the smoke. Very dark, but very realistic. To having to maintain your power and to maintain the facade. So I really did enjoy that. I thought that was excellently um, put together, and as well with the Keme and Saisu. I can't remember his name. I apologize. Her father's advisor. They end up closing the doors and essentially trapping the rebel soldiers and essentially burning them to death, but at the cost of Akeme's advisor and her father's advisor, he getting killed and shot. And him essentially telling her, make your own way, make your own life, make your own decisions. No one can control you anymore. And near the once the fire settles, you know, it turns out Akeme's father survives, but he's apparently burnt. She decides to stay with the shogun's, with the brother, with her husband. And even though Taigen was like, "I don't want to be great, I just want to be happy with you," she's like, "Well, I want to be great." So their relationship pretty much ends. Mizu in Fowler, she has him dead to the rights, but he ends up telling her that that wasn't your mother, that was the maid. And I've always had the suspicion that that was not her mother. I'm like, yo, this woman is too old, and she ain't got the looks that Mizu has. So I was like very suspicious of that woman. And it turned out she was just, a drug addict maid that was looking after Mizu. And Fowler explains that, the other two, white Europeans that were here, uh, they're not in Japan anymore. They're in London. So she essentially keeps him alive and makes her way to London. Ringo returns back to the sword maker. So it's really interesting. She didn't really tell anyone where she was going or what she was doing. She just took Fowler, got a boat, and is now on her way to London. I'm very curious to see if Tigan will make his way to London as well. Uh, we don't really know what happens with him. The episode ends with Mizu on the boat on her way to London, with Fowler locked up um, at the bottom of the boat. So I don't know how they're gonna play it out because I'm speculating that. Oops, sorry about that, guys. I'm wondering what they're gonna do with Tigan. Will he go back to protecting the new shogun, considering that the previous shogun kept him as essentially his personal bodyguard? So I could definitely see Tigan maybe doing that to stay close to Akeme, um, or him pursuing Mizu. I think it would be really badass to see him like save Fowler and Mizu, and he just comes busting out and does work on a bunch of London gangsters. That would be really cool to see him make his way there. I'm excited for it. It reminds me of this great graphic novel series. It's two books. Samurai Heaven and Earth. It's one of my favorite graphic novels out there. It's an amazing read. Great illustrations. The action is great, and it's essentially about a samurai whose wife is taken by the Mongol horde, and he just makes his way across Europe and the Middle East to find the love of his life. It's a really really dope graphic novel. I would love to see it as a TV show or like a two-part movie. And I know exactly the actor I would want for it. God, I can't remember his name, but he did this film I love called Versus, a Japanese film. He's a Japanese um, actor and martial artist. He recently did the Miyamoto Musashi film. That was really really cool. I didn't get to see it. I cannot think of his name. I know someone down in the chat will know who I'm talking about. But it's a really good book. Great graphic novel series, so I highly recommend people check it out if you're itching for something that's very similar to Blue Eye Samurai. Samurai Heaven and Earth is definitely a great runner-up. I would say, all in all, this has been a wonderful season. I'm disappointed that I slept on this show for so long, but I am glad that I got to it and watched it nonetheless. So I really recommend people out there give this show a watch. You will not be disappointed. It's a fun show. There's none of the ideology kind of being forced down your throat or anything like that. Great writing, great action, a lot of attention to detail, especially cultural and social detail of that time period. We tend to think that women, did not have power or anything or influence at that time, but they did, but at the behest of men. Uh, and they do a great job of touching on that and really exploring it. So I would say, all in all, it's a wonderful show. Please go out there, show your support, watch this show, and while you're at it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe and ring that notification bell. So yeah, Blue Eye Samurai, great show, wonderful show. Season 7, episode 7 and 8 were great. So yeah, that's it, man. That concludes season 1 of Blue Eye Samurai. Can't wait for season 2. If you have made it this far and you've enjoyed what you've heard, please leave a comment with your thoughts below on this episode, your thoughts and theories for season 2, and what were your favorite moments in season 1. And make sure to sprinkle in a little bit of that constructive criticism, as that helps me and the channel grow. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.